Jungkook couldn't hold back tears after Jimin's final message. He said it's over, but that smile, God, that smile wasn't real. The words echoed in Jungkook's ears as he stared at the flickering video message, his breath catching in his throat. The screen dimmed, and silence fell like a guillotine. The echo of Jimin's voice, soft yet final, carved through him deeper than any scream. The apartment was too quiet now, the kind of quiet that only comes after something important dies. Rain battered against the glass of the studio window in rhythmic despair, as if the sky itself knew something irreversible had happened. Jungkook's knuckles turned white as he clutched the edge of the desk, trying to ground himself while his world came undone, frame by frame, word by word. Jimin's final message wasn't a goodbye. Not exactly. It was something far more unsettling, a confession wrapped in riddles, a smile too wide, eyes too still. He had sent it at 3:07 a.m., the exact minute he always used to send Jungkook silly cat videos when they were trainees, sleepless and sore, clinging to friendship like a raft. But this message wasn't cute. It wasn't even sane. Jungkook replayed it, again, again, again. If something happens, don't trust the silence, and whatever you do, don't follow the light. What the hell did that mean? He should have called someone, Namjoon maybe, or Yoongi, but his body refused to move. He just kept watching, caught in that surreal limbo where everything real starts to blur around the edges. His heart thudded like a war drum. Jimin was missing, had been for 6 hours, vanished without a trace after that concert in Busan. No messages, no calls, just this thing, this cryptic last thread dangling over an abyss Jungkook hadn't even known was there. He finally stood, staggered more than walked. The studio smelled faintly of burnt coffee and dust. The familiar scent used to be comforting. Now it felt haunted. He turned to leave. He needed air anything, anywhere but here, but stopped when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. You were the last one he called. Don't pretend you don't know why. No name, no sender, just that line. The room spun. Jungkook leaned against the doorframe, breathing like a man pulled out of deep water. Sweat trickled down his back. His mind raced. Who would say something like that? Was someone watching him? He knew Jimin had been different lately, more introspective, talking in fragments, laughing too loud and too late, disappearing for hours between rehearsals. Once, Jungkook had found him on the rooftop at 4 a.m. just starring. Do you ever feel like you're not the one in your body anymore? Jimin had asked, not turning around. Jungkook hadn't known what to say. Now he wished he had. The search began before dawn. Officially, it was labeled a voluntary disappearance, but Jungkook knew better. He started digging, phone records, backstage footage, security cameras. Something was off. Too clean, too perfect. It was as if someone wanted Jimin to vanish without a trace. But there was one flaw. Jimin had left the message for Jungkook, which meant he wanted to be found. Unless he didn't. Unless it wasn't him at all. Jungkook's days became a frenzy of shadows and leads, his nights haunted by dreams where Jimin whispered in reverse, where mirrors cracked and blood ran upwards. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating. The others noticed, but he pushed them away. I owe him this, he muttered to himself at 2 a.m. as he scanned thermal security maps of the hotel they stayed in before Busan. Each clue led to a wall, each message read like code. Then came the box. Delivered anonymously to the front desk of Big Hit. Small, black, no return address. Inside, a flash drive. One video. Jimin, sitting in a room too dark to be real, eyes glowing faintly like there was a fire just behind them. He looked, altered, worn and weightless. If you're watching this, it means I failed, or maybe I did what had to be done. His voice cracked. But please, Jungkook, don't try to fix it. Some things break for a reason. Jungkook dropped the drive like it had burned him. He shook with rage, confusion, sorrow. But beneath it all, something else crept in. Guilt. Because there had been a night, 3 weeks before Jimin vanished, when Jimin had asked him, straight up, If I disappear, would you follow me? And Jungkook, exhausted and distant, had replied, Don't be stupid. Jimin had just smiled. Now, that smile haunted him more than the message ever could. Outside, the rain had stopped. But inside Jungkook, the storm had only just begun. Jungkook, you weren't supposed to open the box. The voice crackled through the speakers like a ghost caught in wires. Jungkook's blood froze. He hadn't pressed play. The flash drive had been pulled from the laptop hours ago, thrown into a drawer, yet somehow, without warning, the video had restarted. But this time it was different. Jimin's tone wasn't pleading. It was cold like a warning. Jungkook's hands trembled as he stepped back from the screen, heart thudding violently in his chest. What is this? He whispered. Jimin, what did you get into? He heard a knock, soft, deliberate. His breath caught. He turned slowly toward the door of his apartment, every muscle tense. Another knock, then silence. Another. 3 knocks, always 3. He approached cautiously, a surge of adrenaline blurring his vision. When he opened the door, the hallway was empty. No, not empty. A small envelope lay on the floor. He picked it up, hands shaking. No name, no stamp, just a symbol, a black butterfly etched in ink. Inside was a folded photo. Old, faded. A younger Jimin standing with 2 men Jungkook didn't recognize, all of them wearing masks, white porcelain, blank expressions. On the back, a message scrawled in red marker. Find the boy in the mask before they find you. Jungkook's knees buckled slightly. What the hell was going on? He called Taehyung. Hyung, he breathed, voice ragged. I need to talk. Now, please, it's about Jimin. I think someone's following me. Don't say this on the phone, Taehyung snapped. Come to the place, you know which one. The line went dead. Jungkook's mind reeled. They hadn't used that code in years. The place was a rundown practice room in an abandoned building they used to sneak into during training days to write music when everyone else was asleep. If Taehyung had pulled that memory out now, it meant he was scared too. When Jungkook arrived, the door was already slightly ajar. He pushed it open, every step echoing in the dark. The place smelled like mildew and memories. Taehyung was standing in the far corner, hoodie up, face tense. Lock it, he said without turning. Jungkook obeyed, chest tight. I saw the footage, Taehyung whispered. The one with Jimin, that room he's in. I've seen it before. Jungkook's eyes snapped up. Where? In my dreams, Taehyung said flatly. The same room, every time, for weeks. Jungkook stared at him, waiting for the punchline. I'm serious, Taehyung growled, stepping forward. And I'm not the only one. Hosok's been having them too. Same room, same static noise, same damn butterflies. Jungkook took a step back. You think this is, what, supernatural? No, Taehyung said. I think it's worse. There was a beat of silence before he added, I think someone is putting the dreams there, planting them. Jungkook didn't respond, couldn't. Then Taehyung pulled something from his bag, a journal, torn, weathered. This was in Jimin's locker, hidden behind the wall panel. Look. Jungkook flipped it open and froze. Pages and pages filled with symbols, drawings, descriptions of shadows with no faces, of whispers in rehearsal rooms. One entry read, I don't remember writing this, but it's my handwriting. They're in my head. Every time I smile, I feel like I'm lying. Jungkook felt a chill crawl up his spine. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I didn't want to believe it, Taehyung said, voice cracking. But he knew something big, and now, I think he's trapped, not just physically, up here. He tapped his head. And if we're not careful, we will be too. A loud crack split the air. Both of them ducked. The mirror in the far corner had shattered, without anyone touching it. Jungkook's breathing turned ragged. They weren't alone. They searched the room but found nothing. No intruder. No sign of forced entry. Only one thing changed. In the dust on the window, someone had written 3 words with a fingertip. Stop digging, Jeon. Back at his apartment, Jungkook showered in silence. The water didn't cleanse anything, it just drowned the noise for a while. When he looked in the mirror, he didn't recognize himself. Sunken eyes, twitching jaw, the weight of guilt and mystery warping his features. He opened Jimin's journal again. The last page held a riddle. The day we first lied is the day it all began. Go back, hear the silence, follow the fire. He remembered now, vaguely. Their debut concert. A mistake in the vocals. They all lied to the staff, said it was a technical glitch. But Jimin had cried after that, alone backstage. Jungkook had found him curled in the hallway, repeating the word wrong over and over. Had something started that day? He dug through old backups, searching for recordings of that night. Something, anything, Jimin might have heard. What he found made his stomach twist. On the raw, unedited stage audio, during a pause in the set, a voice whispered through the mic. A whisper never heard by the crowd. He doesn't belong here. Not in English, not in Korean. The voice spoke in a dialect Jungkook didn't recognize, but it said his name. The hairs on his arms stood up. He played it again. Same whisper. Same phrase. Then a second voice. Take him back. Suddenly, everything blurred. The room tilted. His vision doubled. Then came the scream. Not his. Not human. His laptop shut off by itself. All lights in the apartment blinked out. Emergency power kicked in, casting the room in blood-red tones. He staggered toward the balcony to get air. That's when he saw it. Across the street. A figure in a white porcelain mask, standing still on the rooftop. Watching. Jungkook's heart stopped. He stepped back. The figure raised a hand. And waved, slowly. A message lit up on Jungkook's phone, received just seconds ago. He's not gone, but he will be, unless you trade. Jungkook clutched the phone, mind racing. Trade what? But he already knew the answer. Himself. The silence swallowed the city. And Jungkook finally began to cry. The porcelain mask didn't move. Not a tilt, not a twitch. It just watched from the rooftop, an unmoving silhouette against the Seoul skyline. Jungkook's breath fogged the glass door to his balcony. His fists clenched. He should have run. He should have called the police. But instead, he opened the door. The wind slapped him in the face, cold and metallic. His heart pounded like a warning drum in his chest. Still, he stepped out, eyes locked with the figure across the street. Who the hell are you? He shouted into the night. No answer. Just that eerie wave, slow and mechanical, as if the person behind the mask had practiced it, rehearsed it. And then it vanished. One blink and the figure was gone. Jungkook staggered back inside, slamming the balcony door shut and locking it, though it felt ridiculous. How do you lock out something that already knows your name? His phone buzzed again. One video. From Jimin. Or something pretending to be Jimin. He hesitated, then hit play. Jimin stood in a hallway Jungkook didn't recognize, sterile, clinical, almost like a hospital. But wrong. The lights above flickered erratically, casting shadows that didn't match his movements. Jimin's eyes were sunken, his face pale and strained. Don't trade, he whispered. No matter what they offer, don't let them take your name. The video glitched. Jimin's face distorted for a split second, stretched, flickered, then returned. I wanted to fix it. I thought I could make it right, Jimin continued, his voice breaking. But they don't let you leave. They change you, piece by piece. Who? Jungkook asked the screen, his voice a raw rasp. I saw him, Jimin said suddenly, eyes wide. The original, he doesn't sleep, he just waits. And if you answer when he calls. The video cut off. No ending, no signature, just silence. Jungkook gritted his teeth and called Taehyung again. No answer. He tried Hoseok. Nothing. Namjoon's line went straight to voicemail. He was alone, or being made to be alone. He drove. Fast, reckless, tires squealing at every corner, barely aware of the red lights he ran through. The city blurred past him in streaks of neon and fog. He reached the practice building, the old one, abandoned, decaying, the place where they used to pretend the world didn't matter. He kicked the door in. Dust exploded in the beam of his flashlight. The wooden floors creaked like they remembered him, groaning under his footsteps. Somewhere in the back, a piano note echoed, just one. He wasn't alone. He found the source in the main studio. The grand piano they never had the budget for back then, now gleaming like it had just been polished. A man sat with his back turned, playing softly. "Jungkook," the man said without turning. "You came." His heart almost stopped. He knew that voice. But it wasn't possible. "Taehyung," Jungkook whispered. The man turned. Park Jimin. Or a version of him. He looked younger, hair shorter, no tattoos, his eyes too clear, too empty. "You were supposed to wait," this Jimin said, standing slowly. "I told them you wouldn't listen, that you'd come." Jungkook stepped back. "What the hell is this?" "You always had to be the hero, right?" the fake Jimin said, smiling in a way that didn't touch his eyes. "Always running after people. You think that's love, that's control." "You're not him," Jungkook spat. "You're not Jimin." "I'm what's left when the soul is carved out," the thing said, its voice growing distorted. "They call us the echoes, and once they've taken enough of you, there's nothing left to echo." Jungkook pulled out the journal, the real one. He flipped to the riddle. "The day we lied," he said. "What happened, Jimin? What did you see that night?" The fake Jimin twitched, just once. "The truth." "Where is he?" Jungkook demanded. "The real Jimin." "You think you're here to save him," the echo said, stepping forward. "But you're not. You're here to replace him." Suddenly, a scream pierced the studio. Not from the echo. From below. Jungkook turned and ran, feet pounding down staircases slick with moisture and mold. The scream echoed again, sharper, desperate. He reached the basement, door hanging off its hinges, and found Hoseok. Bound to a chair, eyes wide, mouth gagged. Jungkook rushed forward, pulling the cloth off his mouth. "Don't touch me," Hoseok screamed. "It's not safe, they're in the room." "What?" Before he could finish, the lights cut out. Darkness, thick and suffocating. Then a sound. Like paper tearing. And whispering. Dozens of voices, overlapping, indistinguishable. One word repeated. Names. Jungkook yanked at the ropes. Hoseok sobbed, fighting against the bindings. "Did you trade, Jungkook?" A voice hissed in his ear. "Did you give them your name?" The air thickened. He couldn't breathe, the room spun. Hoseok was screaming again, but it felt distant, like underwater. Then, light. A flare ignited. Taehyung stood in the doorway, holding a lit torch, eyes wild. "Move," he shouted. Jungkook lifted Hoseok and ran. Taehyung threw salt in the room, why salt, and slammed the door behind them. The whispering faded, barely. They collapsed in the hallway, panting. Taehyung looked at Jungkook, fury in his eyes. "You opened the box," he said. "I had to," Jungkook gasped. "He asked me to." "You don't get it," Taehyung growled. "The moment you played that message, you invited them in. It's not about saving Jimin. It's about surviving long enough not to be him." Hoseok whimpered. "They want replacements. Every time someone disappears, they put something back. A version, a copy, the echo." Jungkook stared at them both. "Then where is the real Jimin?" No one spoke. Then Hoseok lifted his head. They buried him, but he climbed back up. Jungkook's pulse stopped. "Where?" Hoseok trembled. "Under the studio, behind the old mirrors, there's a staircase no one remembers. He left something there, something he shouldn't have taken." Jungkook stood. "Then we go back." Taehyung grabbed his arm. "If we do, we don't all come back, you know that, right?" Jungkook looked him in the eyes, tears burning hot. "I don't care. I'm not leaving him behind again." From somewhere above them, the piano played one final note. And the studio breathed. "Don't turn around," Hoseok whispered, his voice so low it barely reached Jungkook's ears. But Jungkook had already heard it, the sound. That wet clicking, like bones being cracked and reset just out of sight, it was behind them again, closer this time. Taehyung moved first, dragging Hoseok up by the arm. Run, now. They sprinted down the hallway, flashlights stuttering, shadows dancing violently across the peeling walls. Jungkook led the way, his lungs screaming, feet sliding across the dust-slick floor. They reached the old dance room, room 3. The mirrors stretched across the wall like a portal, untouched by time, still polished and gleaming despite the decay. Jungkook didn't hesitate. He slammed his flashlight into the center pane, cracking the glass into a spiderweb of fractures. Behind it, the faint outline of a metal staircase glimmered. That's it, he gasped. It's here. Taehyung stepped forward, examining the edges of the mirror. It's sealed. Jungkook ran his hands along the frame until he found it. A thin indentation, barely visible, like a fingerprint pressed into time. He pushed. With a loud click, the panel shifted inward, releasing a stale gust of air that smelled like rust and rotting flowers. The mirror slid open just enough to let them through, revealing the staircase. It spiraled downward into pitch blackness. Taehyung looked at Jungkook, eyes wild. This isn't just some hiding place. This was made. Jungkook didn't answer. He was already moving down the steps. The air grew heavier with every step, charged with a static that buzzed in their teeth. Hoseok clung to the railing, muttering to himself. They said you'd come back, he kept repeating. They said he'd bring you all. The staircase opened into a narrow hallway of concrete and iron. Exposed wires snaked along the ceiling like vines. Doors lined the walls, each marked with a symbol. A flame, a lock, a butterfly, a shattered clock. But one door was open. The last one. They entered. The room was circular, with a ceiling that arched into darkness. Dozens of screens lined the walls, old televisions, static-filled monitors glowing with scenes of memories, practice sessions, concerts, backstage jokes, arguments, laughter, cries. All of them featured Jimin. But in every screen, something was off. In one, his eyes never blinked. In another, he smiled too long after a joke. In a third, he mouthed words no one had said. What is this? Taehyung breathed. A loop, Jungkook whispered. They're studying him, repeating him. Hoseok pointed to the center of the room. There, bound to a metal chair, covered in wires and electrodes, was Jimin. The real one. Alive. Barely. Jungkook ran to him, knees buckling as he fell to his side. Jimin, oh my God, Jimin. Jimin's eyes fluttered open. Don't let them copy you, he rasped. They need someone else now. Jungkook sobbed, trying to untangle the wires. I'm getting you out, I swear. Wait, Jimin gasped. They'll come, they always do when a trade is broken. Behind them, a loud metallic creak echoed through the chamber. A new door was opening. Taehyung grabbed a steel rod from the wall. We fight. Jungkook ignored the sound. He focused on Jimin cradling his face. You're okay now, I'm here. Jimin coughed blood. No, I'm not, look at my arm. Jungkook looked down. The skin was wrong, it was cracking, but beneath it wasn't flesh. It was porcelain. They started replacing me, Jimin whispered. Piece by piece, my memories, my voice, soon even my soul. Jungkook recoiled, tears burning down his face. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ask for help? I tried, Jimin whispered, but I was already one of them. That's why I smiled in the message. I knew I was lying. The sound grew louder, thudding heavy steps. Taehyung stood firm. Hoseok prayed silently in the corner. Then the figure appeared. Not just an echo. The echo. It looked like Jungkook. Identical. Same eyes, same body, but the expression wrong, empty, cold. It stepped forward, speaking in Jungkook's voice. The trade was made when you watched the first video. You don't get to walk away. Jungkook stood, placing himself between Jimin and the echo. I'm not giving him up. You already did, the echo said. Now you'll replace him, one way or another. Taehyung lunged, swinging the rod at the echo's head. It shattered on impact, its head cracking open to reveal writhing darkness inside. The echo didn't fall. Instead, it grabbed Taehyung by the throat and lifted him off the ground. "Run," Taehyung choked. But Jungkook didn't move. "I won't leave anyone behind," he shouted. The lights in the room exploded. Sparks rained down. Alarms screamed. Jungkook pulled Jimin up, wrapping his arm around his shoulder. "We end this now," Jimin whispered. "How?" Jungkook asked, desperate. "Destroy the mirror that showed the staircase. The first door, the original portal. If you break it, really break it, they can't come through again." "But you—" "I'm already gone," Jimin said softly. "They'll come for me no matter what, but you still have a chance." "No," Jungkook said through gritted teeth. "You're coming with me." Taehyung kicked free of the echo, grabbing a pipe from the floor and slamming it into the creature's side. "Geo!" Jungkook half-carried Jimin back up the stairs. Hoseok ran ahead, smashing open the hidden door as they burst into the old practice room. The mirror still stood. The crack from before glowed faintly, like it was healing. Jungkook grabbed a stool and hurled it. Glass shattered. The studio screamed. A force like wind and fire exploded outwards, throwing them all to the ground. Light poured from the frame as if the sun itself were bleeding through. Then, silence. When Jungkook opened his eyes, the mirror was gone. Just a wall now. No door, no symbols, no echoes. He turned to check on Jimin. But Jimin was gone. No blood, no sound. Only a single piece of porcelain, where his hand had been. Taehyung and Hoseok stood in stunned silence. "He knew," Hoseok whispered. "He chose." Jungkook fell to his knees, clutching the shard. A note had been carved into it, barely visible. "You followed me. That's all I ever wanted." And as the first light of morning filtered into the room for the first time in years, Jungkook wept, not from fear, but from love and loss. The porcelain shard lay cold in Jungkook's palm, cutting into his skin like it wanted to be remembered. Blood pooled along the edge, slow and warm, but he didn't flinch. He couldn't. The pain anchored him to what was left of reality. The room had stopped breathing. No whispers, no echoes, just the three of them, Jungkook, Taehyung, and Hoseok, alone in the old practice room that once held laughter and sweat, now echoing only silence and grief. "He's not dead," Jungkook said suddenly, his voice quiet but firm. Taehyung sat against the wall, staring at the broken remnants of the mirror. "You saw what happened. He disappeared, Kook." "He was taken again, not erased." Jungkook stood, fists clenched. "We've shut them out, but we didn't end it. This is a cycle. Jimin said it himself, they replace us." Hoseok wiped a streak of blood from his cheek, face pale. "So what do we do? Wait for another mirror? Another portal?" "No," Jungkook muttered. "We go where they started it." Taehyung scoffed. "You don't even know what they is." "I don't care anymore," Jungkook snapped. "Whatever they are, they took him. And I'm not going to wait around while another version of me shows up smiling like nothing happened." Taehyung stood slowly. "You're talking about confronting something that builds copies of people. You're not thinking straight." "Don't tell me I'm not thinking straight when you saw it too," Jungkook fired back. "You were ready to fight that thing with your bare hands." "I was trying to survive," Taehyung said. "You want to play hero in a horror story." They stared each other down, until Hoseok broke the tension with a quiet, broken sentence. "There's another file." Both heads turned toward him. "In Jimin's journal, hidden beneath the stitching. I didn't tell you because I wasn't sure it was real." Jungkook stepped forward. "Where is it?" Hoseok reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, unmarked USB drive. "I found it taped behind the cover." Jungkook plugged it into his laptop, fingers shaking. One folder. Inside, a single file. Encrypted. Password protected. Jungkook stared at the screen. What would he use? "Try a date," Taehyung suggested. Jungkook's fingers hovered over the keys, then typed. 2013-0613. Access denied. First concert, Hoseok offered. 2014-1017. Nothing. Then Jungkook paused. He typed slowly, Jungkook. The screen blinked. Access granted. The folder opened to reveal one video file. Its name made Jungkook's breath catch in his throat. Return code. He double-clicked it. The screen went black. Then Jimin appeared. But not the Jimin from the previous videos. This one was healthy, whole, calm. I don't know when you'll see this, Jimin said softly, but if you've come this far, it means I failed to stay, and you're trying to bring me back. He looked directly into the lens. There's a way, but it's not safe. It involves remembering. Jungkook leaned closer. I traced the origin of the first echo to an abandoned research facility in Ilsan. Back when we were trainees, I used to go there alone. I told you I was visiting family. But I was following something I couldn't explain. Visions, dreams. They weren't dreams. Jimin's voice shook. The facility is underground, hidden beneath an old train yard. It was shut down after a fire, but the tunnels are still intact. There's a room marked X17. If you go there, you'll find the route, the first prototype, the original. Taehyung rubbed his face. What the hell is he talking about? Let him finish, Jungkook said. Jimin continued, his face paling as if the weight of the message drained him. If you find me, if I'm not myself, play this. Let me see myself again. That's the only chance I have to come back. The video ended. Silence. Jungkook exhaled. We're going, he said. Taehyung looked at him like he'd lost his mind. You want us to break into a burned-down government lab based on a hallucination. It's not a hallucination if all three of us saw it, Jungkook shot back. You saw the echo, you fought it. You've had the dreams, don't lie. Taehyung hesitated. Even if it's real, even if that place exists, do you understand what it means to go there? This isn't a game anymore. It never was, Jungkook said, voice low. It's been real since the day we first lied. They didn't speak for a moment. Then Hoseok whispered, then we need help. Namjoon. They hadn't told him everything. Not yet. But he'd been watching from the outside, suspicious, questioning. Maybe part of him knew already. Knew that something was rotting beneath the surface. They met him in secret that night. Namjoon didn't say a word as Jungkook laid out the journals, the footage, the porcelain fragment. When it was over, Namjoon leaned forward, face grim. I've read about X17. It's not a myth, he said. It was a cognition experiment, government-sanctioned. They were testing mirror exposure therapy, but something went wrong. The staff started reporting hallucinations, identity loss, psychotic breaks. They sealed the place, burned half of it. Jungkook felt a chill crawl up his spine. Why didn't you say anything? Because I didn't think anyone would be stupid enough to go there, Namjoon snapped. But now I see I was wrong. You'll help us, Hoseok asked. Namjoon sighed. I'll give you what I have, and I'll pray to God you don't bring anything back with you. They left before sunrise. Ilsan was dead quiet. The train yard stretched out like the carcass of a forgotten god, rusted steel and skeletal scaffolding, long abandoned. Namjoon's map guided them to a hatch hidden beneath an overturned cargo container. They descended. Flashlights flickered. The air was thick with mold and memory. Beneath them, something stirred. Jungkook led the way, driven, unyielding. They walked in silence, deeper into the dark, toward the truth, toward the original. And behind them, unseen, a new echo opened its eyes. The tunnel pressed inward like a lung too tight to breathe. Each step beneath the rusted train yard echoed like a threat, metal groaning softly above them, as if the ruins remembered the screams. Jungkook gripped the flashlight tighter, its beam cutting through a dust-choked haze. The deeper they went, the more it felt like time slowed. The silence wasn't silent, it was listening, breathing, waiting. You guys feel that? Hoseok whispered behind him. Like we're walking into a heartbeat. Taehyung nodded once, sweat trickling down his temple despite the cold. It's poolsing. Namjoon, walking in the rear, adjusted his satchel full of schematics and battery backups. We've passed where the fire report said the collapse began, but this tunnel's still intact, which means someone been keeping it that way. They reached a rusted steel door marked with faded paint, X17. Jungkook stepped forward. He didn't hesitate. The others grabbed his arm. What's the plan if what's in there is worse than we imagined? Taehyung asked. Jungkook looked at him, eyes hollowed out from sleepless nights and grief. We don't get to imagine anymore. We finish this. No more running. He pushed the door open. It groaned like a beast dying in slow motion, and the scent hit them first. Antiseptic, scorched metal, and something darker. Something that reeked of memory rot. The room was circular, massive, lined wall-to-wall with mirrors. Each mirror framed in wires and electrodes, all connected to a large machine at the center humming with unstable life. A chair sat beneath the wires, splattered in dried blood. And someone was sitting in it. Jimin, Jungkook's voice cracked like porcelain. But the figure didn't move. Namjoon stepped forward, adjusting his flashlight beam. That's not, he froze. That's not just Jimin. There were multiple faces. Projected, overlapping. As if the person in the chair was every version of him at once. Young, old, smiling, broken, screaming. The images flickered like a corrupted slideshow. The machine sparked. Then the chair-bound figure spoke. I remember the fire, it said, voice layered with multiple tones. I remember the first lie. You told me it was a mistake. Jungkook stepped closer. Jimin, is that really you? The head turned slightly, painfully slow. One eye blinked, the other was porcelain. I was Jimin, then I was him, then I was what they made from him. Taehyung muttered under his breath. This is wrong. This is so wrong. Namjoon scanned the machine. This isn't just a consciousness transfer system. This is a reconstruction loop. It takes memory, identity, voice, and replays them until the subject believes it's real again. But it's not, the thing in the chair whispered. They copied me until I forgot how to be real. The mirrors around the room began to shimmer. One by one, they lit up. Each showed a different scene, a different life. Jungkook dancing alone, tears streaking down his face. Taehyung with blood on his hands, staring into a mirror reflection that wasn't his. Hoseok locked in a soundproof room, screaming. Namjoon standing before an empty stage, delivering a eulogy no one heard. They've been watching us, Namjoon murmured, tracking our fears, our choices, our guilt. Feeding on it, said the voice in the chair. They need emotion to replicate. Without it, they're just mirrors. Suddenly, the machine surged. Sparks burst. A shrill tone rang out, high-pitched and unbearable. The door slammed shut behind them. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. Return code accepted. A wall panel slid open. Inside, another chair. Empty. Taehyung backed away. No, I'm not sitting in that. I don't care what that voice said. Namjoon stared at it, calculating. The system thinks one of us is the final piece, the last variable. Jungkook didn't move. He was staring at the thing in the chair. At Jimin, or what was left of him. Then he turned and sat in the second chair. Taehyung shouted, Jungkook, do. But it was too late. Restraints snapped around his wrists and ankles. The machine screamed to life, cables shooting toward his skull. Jungkook! Hoseok pounded on the panel, trying to rip it open. Jungkook gritted his teeth, voice straining. If this is how I bring him back, let it take me. The room exploded in white light. The mirrors fractured. One by one, they shattered, each shard showing a different moment, a different Jimin screaming, laughing, dying, begging. The light intensified. Jungkook's body convulsed. The machine howled like a monster being burned alive. And then, silence. The lights died. Smoke filled the chamber. The chair was empty. Both of them. Where is he? Taehyung shouted. Where the hell is Jungkook? A figure stood in the center of the room. walking slowly through the smoke. It was Jimin. Whole, breathing, real. He looked up, eyes wide with something between terror and love. "I saw him," Jimin whispered. "Inside, he gave me everything, his memories, his voice, his pain. He traded it all." Hoseok fell to his knees. Namjoon turned away, hands shaking. Taehyung stared at Jimin. "And Jungkook." Jimin's voice broke. "He's still in there, holding them back." The machine sparked once more, a final flicker. And from its depths, a whisper, not mechanical, not distorted. "Just Jungkook. I remember the fire." Then the mirrors went dark. All of them. And the echoes went silent. Jimin stood in the center of the ruined chamber, barefoot on shattered glass, as though the pieces of himself and Jungkook were scattered across the floor. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that made your ears ring. The kind that came after something died. Taehyung moved first, stepping closer to Jimin with slow, deliberate fear. "Is it really you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Jimin turned to him, eyes glossy but lucid. His voice trembled as he said, "I remember everything. Every second I was trapped, every loop, every scream. I saw myself 100 times, breaking differently in each version, but only one voice brought me back." Namjoon knelt beside the scorched machine, examining the fused circuits and smoking wires. "The system's fried. There's no powering this up again, no bringing anyone back the same way." Jimin looked at the second chair, the one Jungkook had vanished from. It was still warm. "He gave me everything," Jimin murmured. "His memories, his thoughts, even the pain he never showed anyone. I felt it, his guilt, his fear, his love." Taehyung swallowed hard. "Then he's gone." Jimin didn't answer. He stepped to the center of the room where the mirrors once stood, now blackened and blank. From his pocket, he pulled the porcelain shard Jungkook had once held, the same one that bore Jimin's final message. He held it tight, and it began to glow. Softly, dimly. And then, just for a moment, a reflection appeared in the broken glass wall. Jungkook. Not trapped, not screaming. Just smiling. The same smile he used to give Jimin when he thought no one was watching. The smile that said, "I'd trade the world for you." And then it faded. Taehyung closed his eyes. Namjoon exhaled shakily. Hoseok turned away, tears already falling. Jimin pressed the shard to his chest, as if trying to hold that final moment inside him before it could be taken too. Then the tunnel began to collapse. Sparks burst from overhead cables, and the steel structure groaned violently. Namjoon shouted, "Move, now, the whole thing's coming down." They ran. Through smoke and static, up the twisting stairwells and rust-stained ladders, past rooms that no longer whispered. The deeper power that had watched and waited was gone, severed. The echoes had no voice now. The facility didn't fight to survive. It crumbled willingly, as if ashamed of what it had built. By the time they reached the surface, the sun was rising behind the wreckage of the train yard. A pale orange bleeding through smoke and soot. The air smelled like ash and cold steel. No one spoke for a long time. Then Jimin said quietly, "He's not gone. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel him, inside, watching, protecting, like..." He became something that guards the mirror instead of being trapped by it. Namjoon nodded. Maybe that was always his choice, to protect you, all of us. Taehyung took out his phone and deleted the last unread message from Jungkook. He'd kept it hidden, unread for days. Now he understood. It had said, "If I disappear, don't remember the worst of me. Remember the parts I hid." They walked home in silence, together. Jimin would never be the same, neither would they. But something deeper had changed, something fundamental. They no longer feared mirrors. Because they had seen the worst of themselves reflected back, and survived. A week later, the dance studio reopened. Jimin stood alone in the center, facing the new mirror, this one real, simple, and silent. He stared at his reflection. Then he whispered, "I'm still here. From somewhere deep within the glass, for just a breath of a second, another voice replied. So am I. And the mirror held. The end.